Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today we are featuring, I've just seen his name, 3 men, 2 destroyers. It's very dodgy. 3 men, 2 destroyers in the Japanese Tier 7 light cruiser, the Tokachi. Yep, that's right, Japanese light cruisers, the new line of ships that was introduced not that long ago. And that everybody got very excited about, because let's face it, when you're playing the Megami, the Japanese Tier 8 technically heavy cruiser, nobody puts the 8-inch guns on it, because the 6-inch guns are just so much better. Blistering rate of fire, huge number of gun barrels. I mean, it's a very fragile ship, it doesn't react very well at all to getting shot at, but wow, this thing can dish out the damage. I mean, I say this thing, I mean the Megami. I'm not talking specifically about the Tokachi here. I'm talking about other Japanese light cruisers. Because the Japanese tech tree, at least as far as the cruisers was concerned, didn't really have any light cruisers. I mean, it did, but down at the tiers where nobody really cared, you've got the Tenryu, the Chikuma, and the Kuma at Tier 4 and below, and then you hit Tier 5 with the Furutaka, and suddenly it's just heavy cruisers all the way. With the one notable exception of the Megami, which was designed as a heavy cruiser, but fitted with 6-inch guns, although with the capability of upgrading to 8-inch guns later, which is exactly why you get that choice on the Megami here in the game. So Wargaming had this golden opportunity to add a whole bunch of actual light cruisers all the way up to Tier 10, which they did, and everybody got pretty excited. Because if they were introducing a brand new line of cruisers that was anything like the Megami with the 6-inch guns, I mean, okay, it's fragile, it tends to explode as soon as it gets shot at, but holy crap, that thing can push out the damage. And then people got even more excited when they saw the number of gun barrels these things were shipping with. I mean, the Tier 7 has 12 guns. The Tier 8, 9 and 10 have 15. And then people started playing them. And it turns out that they're actually shit. And they can't dish out the firepower the way the Megami can. And it's because of the reload. If you look at some of the super cruisers that they've introduced into the game, ships like the Yoshino or the Alaska, these are cruisers that are armed with arguably battleship caliber guns, 305mm guns or bigger. And they typically have a reload in the 18 to 20 second range. The Japanese light cruisers, with poxy little 6-inch guns, the Tier 8, 9 and 10 have 15-second reloads. The Russian Moskva, with its 220mm guns, reloads nearly 5 seconds faster than the Japanese Tier 9 light cruiser, the Takahashi, with its 150, not even 152 or 155, just 150mm guns. These cruisers are dog shit. Except that's not true of all of them, because you can get a fast reload on these new Japanese light cruisers. You just have to put your hand in your pocket and pay for it, and buy yourself the Tokachi here, the premium Tier 7 Japanese light cruiser. But even then, you're still kind of getting shafted, because while this is by no means a slow reload, and the Aviary over there absolutely shouldn't have picked this fight. Yeah, there's his first kill. But did you see what the reload actually was? I mean, he's taken certain skills and perks that have got it down to below 7 seconds, but the base reload is 7 seconds, and that's not bad, actually, for a light cruiser armed with 6-inch guns, except this is not a light cruiser armed with 6-inch guns. I mean, it's a light cruiser, but it's a light cruiser in the same way that the USS Austin or the USS Atlanta are both light cruisers. They're not armed with light cruiser guns, they're armed with destroyer guns, and so is the Tokachi. And 7 seconds isn't even a great reload for a destroyer. So you can actually get a decent reload on these new Japanese light cruisers. You just have to pay for the privilege, and even then you're still kind of getting shortchanged, because it's not that fast a reload given the caliber of the guns, and given the caliber of the guns, the range is terrible. And you're in a light cruiser, so you have to get uncomfortably close to things that can do an awful lot of damage to you because you are just in a light cruiser. And yet, while I would argue with some justification that the rest of these Japanese light cruisers are absolutely terrible, that's not necessarily true of the Tokachi. But don't take my word for it. Let's watch the evidence together. So, the team are not doing well, of course. This is domination on 2 brothers. 4 cap circles, The team do have 2 of the 4 cap circles at least. Oh, a Fiji. Yeah, that's bad. You're going to want to angle against that. I would not want to take the Pepsi challenge in any tier 7 cruiser against the Fiji. Not because the Takachi is bad, but because the Fiji is just so good. And the team are getting spanked despite having the 1 cap circle advantage. They've just lost their 4th ship. They are 3 battleships and a cruiser down. And they've only managed to kill that 1 destroyer, the 3 men, 2 destroyers here, and the Takachi killed earlier. And they've just lost one of their submarines as well. Oh yeah, by the way, this is a double submarine and aircraft carrier battle, so fun for all the family. Oh, and by the way, speaking of the team's battleships, they've got 2 left, and one of them, up here, the Colorado, has spent the entire game this far hiding behind an island. Oh, that was a very, yeah, we'll call it brave move from the Hatsuharu. But he did at least manage to take down the Fiji. I don't think he needed to die in order to do it, but hey, what's done is done. So that's the team's 2nd kill, and they've lost 6 ships. And now the Colorado is ramming the aircraft carrier. Speaking of carriers, here come the Ryujo's torpedo bombers, and he's just been pinged by a submarine. Fortunately, the Ryujo appears to be quite new here. Those torpedoes were dropped way too close to arm. The Colorado, of course, is going to be the big problem, because that thing has 16-inch guns, and this is a light cruiser. And you can't angle against 16-inch guns with armour this thin, but you can at least turn away from him to reduce the chance that he's going to hit you in the first place. Although it does guarantee that any shot that does hit is probably going to citadel, because it's going to travel the entire length of the ship, giving the fuse plenty of time to arm instead of just over-penetrating. But what you're going to do? This does also allow him to focus his fire on the Cachalot, who looked like he was basically out of battery power, so he's not going to be able to stay submerged for very long at all. He's gotten the depth charges away, but they don't appear to have hit anything, and here comes the Ryujo again, so he's turning in. And if you're wondering what that sudden barrage of very angry looking fire is, that is the defensive fire consumable of the Tier 7 USS New Orleans. And it made no difference. Both the Takachi's AA, with dual purpose by the way, her main guns, and she's got a lot of them, also double up as anti-aircraft guns, and the defensive fire consumable boosted anti-aircraft fire of a New Orleans class Tier 7 cruiser between the 2 of them weren't enough to stop an attack from 1 Tier 6 aircraft carrier. In fact, and the New Orleans still has the consumable going, but it's not enough to stop 2 attacks on 2 Tier 7 cruisers, one of whom is boosted as AA. 2 attacks from a Tier 6 aircraft carrier managed to get through. Fortunately, once again, the Ryujo dropped the torpedoes way too short, so they didn't get a chance to arm. If you're wondering, by the way, how do you successfully counterplay against an aircraft carrier in this game? You don't. You just hope that they're bad. Clearly the Ryujo's pretty bad, because he's sitting there behind the island waiting to get torpedoed. There goes the submarine. In fact, the Ryujo's actually making this easier than it needs to be. He's coming out to meet them. Don't forget there's a New Orleans heavy cruiser here as well. And I was sitting here at this point thinking, dude, load the armour piercing. But I mean, he's scoring citadels with a high explosive. So it's likely that if he'd loaded the armour piercing, he would have probably just over-penetrated. The high explosive is absolutely getting the job done, as is the 1 torpedo hit. And the Ryujo, yeah, completely screwed up his final torpedo drop as well. So fortunately, that carrier player was pretty bad. And I say fortunately because bad though he was, he still managed to knock 3/4 of 3 men, 2 destroyers health off. Imagine if he'd been any good. Luckily for us, he was not. Oh, the Colorado's managed to kill something. Wait, is he going down the middle on... Oh, no. Again, I draw your attention to the mini-map, where there's a Fuso and probably a submarine coming around the corner to the northwest. And look at where the Colorado's parked. Now, I sincerely hope he is sitting there in order to defend that cap circle at Bravo from the Fuso and potentially also the submarine, because he's the only one on the team in a position to do it. I don't know if you caught his health bar there. There he is. He's still got 90% of his health left, which isn't surprising. Oh, great. The team have just lost another submarine. Not surprising, considering that his only contribution this far has been hiding behind an island and ramming the aircraft carrier. Well, that's not strictly true. He did manage to sink something. Oh, no, I'm looking at the map. He is coming down the middle. Well, it's 2 brothers. Somebody has to. Okay, fine. So that cap circle at Bravo was about to get flipped by the Fuso and or the submarine. Meanwhile, 3 men, 2 destroyers he's trying to finish off the Colorado. He's managed to set a fire. The Colorado has extinguished a single fire while sinking the Nagato. Right, so the team only have 1 battleship left. Unfortunately, it's the Colorado. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Colorado. Alright, it's really slow, but it's got good guns. And oh, nice. I didn't even see him launch those torpedoes. I wasn't paying attention. But, well, apparently neither was somebody else. So there's another kill. But yes, I don't mean there's anything wrong with the Colorado. It's not a great ship, but it's certainly not terrible. I mean, the armor's serviceable. It's slow as hell, but it's got good guns. I don't mean the Colorado in general. I mean the Colorado on this team. The one that's just sailed down the middle of 2 brothers in time to not only defend the 1 cap circle that he was actually in a fairly good position to defend, but also to snipe 700 hit points off the enemy Colorado, who was on fire with his damage control on cooldown thanks to 3 men, 2 destroyers here, and we was about to die within a couple of seconds. Anyway, I mean, that Colorado. Remember how he had 90% of his health intact? And since then all he's done is sail down the middle of 2 brothers. Wait until you see him again. For now, however... Oh yeah, the Takachi has torpedoes. They're not terrible. I mean, the Japanese torpedoes, so they're going to be decent. But it can only launch 3 from each side. Although it does have a torpedo reload booster. But torpedo reload boosters do have a very long cooldown. And this one's no different. So, yeah. I mean, he's got the worst possible torpedo firing angles here. And I'm not just talking about the arcs on the launchers, which are pretty bad. But the New Mexico's sailing straight towards him, so there's not much chance any of those are going to hit. He's swinging around to get the torpedoes away against the King George as well, with fire coming in from the New Orleans. And the Colorado still has almost all of his health remaining. Let's see how long that lasts, since he is given broadside to 2 enemy battleships right now. Oh, and oh, look at that. Somebody's flipping the cap at Bravo. Wow, who saw that one coming? I did. This guy. As did anybody else capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. You know, this is going to surprise you, but when you see the post-battle... Oh, hang on a minute. Wow, look at that. The torpedoes aimed at the King George V are actually going to hit the New Mexico because he turned. Well, he's angling against the Colorado. Yeah, is that... Okay, 1 hit. Well, that's 1 more than we thought we were going to get, so we'll take it. Torpedoes are ready to go again. Although, wow, where did all the Colorado's health go? It may surprise you to learn, although it probably won't, that when you see the post-battle results screen, that Colorado has made nothing but bad decisions this entire game. Is not actually the worst player on the team, or the unluckiest player on the team, because just because you finish last on experience earned doesn't mean you're a bad player. People can have bad days. But the thing is, the Colorado is going to look at his position on the team and think, oh, I actually did quite well in that battle. No! No, you didn't. The relative position of your placing on the team list at the end of the battle, well, it's relative. It depends on who else was on your team and how well they were playing. It's entirely possible to have a decent game, I mean nothing spectacular, but do reasonably well, not make any serious mistakes, and still finish in the bottom 3 of your team if everybody else was just having a particularly good game at the time. Likewise, you can finish in the top 3 and still be dog shit if everybody else on your team was worse. I mean, it happens. Oh, is he going to get one? He is! Nice! Oh, and he's wrecked his steering as well, and he's on fire. And he's flooding. Oh, this is great news. Well, not for the New Mexico, obviously. The New Mexico is not a good ship, and he's not even top tier in this battle. I mean, he's not bottom tier either. Both teams had 1 tier 5, but that guy's done pretty well in a not very good ship, especially considering the matchmaking. Oh, and he's killed the Colorado. Well, nobody was really surprised. The Colorado's gone down, and the New Mexico's the one who finished him. But there's the Kraken Unleashed. Well played at the New Mexico. Not a great ship by any stretch of the imagination, and the matchmaker was not being particularly kind to him either, but he definitely made the most of it. Speaking of, Thanks to the Colorado abandoning a perfect defensive position, the New Orleans is now having to take on the Fuso. Assisted, it has to be said, by the Ban. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the French aircraft carrier. But I don't rate the chances of... No, the New Orleans gone. Well, he tried. He had a tough job to do, and yeah. But he did at least do enough damage to the Fuso to allow the Ban to finish it off with dive bombers. This, of course, does mean that the Ban has his hands fully occupied now with the Undyne. But that's fine, because he's in an aircraft carrier, and the Undyne isn't. Yes, I know submarines are Wargaming's new bright-eyed and bushy-tailed children, and they don't want anything bad to happen to them. But it's not an aircraft carrier. Doesn't matter what Wargaming introduce into this game, they're not going to let anything mess with their aircraft carriers. With its automatic damage control and its automatic anti-submarine warfare. So, well, the Undyne picked its fight. It's his funeral. Look, there go the dive bombers are going for the King George. It's not even bothering to directly attack the submarine. It's just letting its automatic defences take care of it. Well, we'll see how that works out for the Undyne, shall we? It's not looking very good, is it? It's managed to get some torpedoes away, though. Oh, well. It's taken a battering. Yeah, there it goes. Oh, the submarine thought he was going to take out an aircraft carrier in this game. Please. Yeah. Oh, and there's a torpedo hit on the King George V. Yeah, it's not looking too good for that poor old King George, is it? He's probably sitting there thinking, where did it all go wrong? Is his damage control... Oh, he just triggered his damage control to control the flood. You saw the steam coming from the funnel stop. Of course, he's getting smacked. And he is entirely capable of taking out 3 men, 2 destroyers in one hit. But now that his damage control's on cooldown and he's on fire again... Yeah, no. No, there was no way he was going to win that. So, yeah, the Tokachi. One of these newish Japanese light cruisers. Except, unlike all of the others, it isn't completely shit. You do, of course, just have to pay for the privilege. There's the Colorado. You know what? Top tip. And I'm not picking on the Colorado here. But if you're... Certainly not if you're a good player, because you already know when you're making mistakes. But if you're a sort of bad to middling average player and you want to improve overnight, watch your own replays. Not the bad games, obviously, but watch the ones where you think you did well. Like that, Colorado probably thinks, based on his position in the team, that he had a good game, but he really, really didn't. Because I found that when I come out of a battle and I thought, well, that was pretty good. I got, 5 kills, did this amount of damage. Let's make that into a YouTube video. And the second I loaded up the replay and started actually watching the battle, I thought, oh, yeah, that was a bad decision. Oh, I was lucky to get away with that. Oh, what did I do that for? I guarantee if you do that, if you watch what you thought were your best games with a critical eye and note the mistakes that you made in the games that you thought you did well in, you will overnight become a better player. At least it worked for me. And hopefully the Colorado player is watching this video and he'll take some constructive criticism and become a better player. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what we all want, right? Well, obviously I don't mean you, because you're already perfect. Everybody knows that. But I mean, the rest of us. But that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you've learned something that help you improve as a player. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.